Good morning, good day, and good evening. Welcome to episode, I want to say 170 of Tech of a Tea. Probably. Anyway, today's guest is the Linux Tube. How's it going? Welcome to the show.
Why, thanks for having me on. And it is going quite well today. I didn't have an awful of a day at work, and I got home and I get to hang out with you, brother.
Yeah, I woke up about an hour ago, so hopefully, everything goes well. My mind actually works. I was saying before we started recording, that I do feel a bit of a cold coming on, so let's hope that doesn't become a problem. We'll see. Yeah. When I had COVID, I took that entire week off. I did not record any videos.
Yeah, I don't think anybody can. I mean, COVID was no joke. When I caught it, well, I've actually had it 6 times. Because during the whole height of the pandemic, I was also, going to shows and performing and stuff like that. So even though we were wearing masks and staying at a distance, I still got exposed somehow. So, but during the course of it all, it has damaged part of my lungs. So, it's I got this nasty little cough that happens from time to time. Sometimes you see me trying to hide it in the video and stuff like that. But yeah, no, yeah, I when I had it, I think the last time I had it was probably about maybe 8 months ago, 9 months ago, and I was out for a week too.
I think the the one thing I did that I shouldn't have been doing though, I am really stubborn when it comes to getting my stuff done. I have a schedule. I'm going to work to the schedule. I don't care about anything else. I still planned out a week of videos on the first day, and I was losing it. I couldn't focus on anything. Somehow managed to make it happen. I don't know how. Those videos made no sense. I had to when I do my videos, I jot out the points I want to hit. I had to reorder half my notes when I went to record them, because this is just nonsense and made no sense.
Well, that's half my videos anyhow, so I guess I must still have COVID.
when you do videos, do you plan anything out, or you just wing it as you go?
So no, you know what? Here's the thing. I do plan out in my head. I get things. I do write some bullet points, but I almost always forget to look at the bullet points. And because of my history of performing and stuff, I usually do mine. And I know it's weird, but I usually do all my stuff in one shot,
Right.
one take. Very, very little stops and starts. It's really weird, but I do plan out to a degree, and I want to get a whiteboard. I noticed your little whiteboard where you always write, little things on it right there off to your side. Yeah, exactly. And I want to get a whiteboard like that so I can put my bullet points up to where I can see them instead of on an old bill or something like that I can use, or like an old piece of paper, something that I use sitting around, write little bullet points. And I got to go like this. What am I doing? You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I do. It's a mix. It's a mix.
I didn't buy that whiteboard for the videos or anything. I've had that for years. I used to use it. I don't know. I found it useful when I was doing a remote dev job. Just jot out everything I have to do on the board, so I know that I just what I can knock it off as I go. I know there's digital tools for that, but when something's on a separate tab or a separate screen, I'm gonna find myself not looking at it. With this, I would have it right outside the corner of my vision, be okay, this is exactly what I need to do.
I am too ADHD to do separate tabs and that kind of stuff, because what'll happen is something in between will catch my eye, and then I'll go down that rabbit hole.
Yep.
Every time.
Yep.
Like last night in my Discord server, I'm trying to build a web page, right? And so I posted in my Discord, hey, can somebody give me a good idea on any good tools out there to build web pages, right? Website. And so somebody, I think it was Hip Dad, he sent me a link or something like that. And in between clicking on that link and opening up the web browser and going to look for that, somehow I saw something else that took my eyeballs away. And then 3 hours later, I'm like, oh yeah, I was supposed to be trying to figure out how to build a website.
Yeah, this is what happens whenever I reference a tweet in one of my videos. I'll go check the tweet. I'm like, oh, whoop, here's a thing over here. What's this? Oh, what's this thing that's trending? Oh, it's grabbed my attention. Don't do the video for 20, 30 minutes.
And what's really wild is the one that, Twitter's. I'm bad on that too because
Mm-hmm.
what's really getting me is Elon Musk's tweets. I follow his tweets. He's comedic as hell in some of his tweets. He's funny, and then also Serpent OS is posting a lot of stuff. And so like I'm I read all the stuff that they're doing and stuff like that. And so I get lost in that one too when I'm trying to research other stuff too. So I'm bad.
I've
I'm
not
ADHD.
heard of Serpent OS. What's that one?
Serpent OS. Oh, so Serpent OS is the original developer of Solus.
Oh, okay.
And when he left Solus, he decided to go and create Serpent OS.
Uh-huh.
And so it's not released yet. It hasn't come out yet. It's been in the works for months. But I'm following him because what he initially started with Solus was so amazing. It's just crap that the package management fell through. You know what I'm saying? But what he started was actually at the time was very amazing. So I'm expecting to kind of, it's either going to be a huge expectation met or a huge letdown, one of the two. With whatever happens with Serpent OS.
So they doing,
if he renovates another distro, that'll be pretty cool.
So are they doing their own separate packaging system as well, or what are they doing?
I see, that's the thing I don't know. He hasn't
you don't know
mentioned
yet.
that yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. He hasn't mentioned that.
Uh-huh.
But that was the weak point of not the packaging system, but the repository, the amount of packages they had in the repository. That was the weak point of Solid. So hopefully he learned from that. And he had to take some time off from Serpent because he had to go back and help Solus get back up and running again. You heard what happened with them, right?
That was a mess. I'd not been like following what was going on like behind the scenes prior to everything blowing up. But man, going back and looking at it like that, there were a lot of signs of things going wrong for a long time. Like packages slowing down updates, servers not getting updated, servers going down. Yeah, we're trying to like migrate, but like how long does it actually take to migrate your servers? It's not like a 6-month process.
Yeah, well, so recently one of the devs made mention that they didn't have only one person had actual access to the server.
There was one person with physical access at the university.
With physical access, and he had to do all the migration, so it was dependent on this guy being available. Who apparently he's got like a complex job that he's busy all the time on. So that's what was creating that bottleneck. But part of the restructure that they just got done doing was they got more people access to a different server. They moved completely. So
right.
So hopefully that's helping Solus grow even more.
Yeah, I don't use Solus myself. I've not had like experience using it, but I don't want these like even though it does have these packaging issues, I don't want these distros that are doing their own independent thing to go away.
Exactly.
Like it's great that Debian's a thing and there's so much maintenance there. It's great that like Arch is a thing. It's great that all of these even though Arch is a lot smaller than Debian, it's still like well maintained. It's great that all these things exist, but it's also neat to see someone trying to do their own thing and just make it work somehow.
Yeah, I agree because how do I put it? That's the innovation of Linux. I mean, seriously. I mean, you can cookie cutter. And I'm not knocking guys who make a fork of distro, okay? Yeah. There's a lot of work involved in that as well. You know what I'm saying?
People are taking one of the posts I said way out of context a while back. I said, if your distro is basically... if your distro could be achieved... Wait, what was it? You don't need a distro fork if your distro could be achieved with an installation script. Yeah, that's what it was. Something like that.
That's awesome.
Tech Hut referenced it in a video, and like people took it like as a serious thing, and I'm just posting something dumb on Twitter.
That's awesome. That's freaking awesome. But no, it's true. Yeah, I mean, I'm not dissing those guys in any way, shape, or form if they do a cookie cutter distro or something like that. An independent distro is actual innovation. It is what, to me, what Linux has the greatest capability of doing. You could take it anywhere. You could build off of a base kernel and make what you want. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It takes a lot of team effort. It takes a lot of brain power. It takes a lot of time, but it can be done. And those guys that are doing it, like Solus, is just, even though they're struggling, that's part of the struggle. They're not relying on somebody else's hard work, just to bundle it together and make it happen. You know what I mean? They're literally creating it from the ground up. And for them to be slower and more methodical, to me, makes sense and is the best for it. Take your time, get that finished product out there. Stop trying to meet a deadline and just get it good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that is one of the biggest issues with Linux. Is because you have so many people that are rushing to get out there. They want to be the next latest and greatest thing, that a lot of things are getting overlooked. You know what I mean? And they're putting quantity, so to speak, before quality.
Yep. No, I've talked about this a lot with, there's a lot of FOSS projects that like working on these big, shiny new features. And Hyperland was a great example of this. Hyperland early on was Vax will agree with me here. Hyperland was an unstable mess. But it had a lot of these really cool features that didn't really exist as like a bundle on any other Wayland compositors. It had rounded corners, it had transparency, blur, it had animations, like all of this stuff.
Yeah.
But if you ran it, it was going to crash within the next 20 minutes. Like it was a mess to use, but it looked really cool. Nowadays, Vaxria spent a lot of time working on like ironing out those boring things, ironing out those crashes, ironing out those weird edge cases, getting things working like they should be working. And nowadays you have something really good. I can understand why it's cool to work on like really exciting things, but a lot of projects tend to ignore that fundamental base that is way more important. No one's going to care about your software if it doesn't, like, if it's not stable. It doesn't matter how much cool stuff it does. It's not going to be able to achieve those tasks in a real world situation.
The minute the average Linux user, whether they're new to Linux user or even vets are probably even worse than new to Linux user, because the new to Linux user would probably be like, oh, it's my fault. I messed it up. You know what I'm saying? Somewhere, somehow, because they don't really know. But anyhow, they will have that bug happen, and literally, if it's not just right and it happens instantly or whatever, you can bet they're fucking wiping, they're nuking and paving, and they're on to the next distro. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. Those little bug fixes, those things can actually create a negative taste towards people's, desires towards Linux. More so, less, like I said, and more the seasoned vets that know what's going on, because they're like, oh, this is garbage, and then it gets labeled garbage. The next thing you know, nobody wants to deal with it. You know what I'm saying? And it's very lucky that Wayland didn't have that, and Hyperland, has come a long way. With Baxter's done so much work with that. It's amazing. He
too much work.
He should be on the Wayland team with all the stuff that he's actually fixed and caught. From what I understand, I don't know why they're not paying him. You know what I'm saying?
I know there are some people in there that don't particularly like him, but that's a whole separate thing. Like, he's done a lot of like really good work getting Hyperland like actually solid and actually good. Like right now, I would say, I know some of the River people are going to disagree because they really like River, but I think right now Hyperland is probably the best WL Roots Wayland experience. Probably. I can't think of anything else I would use in place of it.
I'm going to be honest with you. I was going to try it, and then I never got a chance to try it yet, so I don't know. I don't know, but everything that I've heard has been outstanding. I mean, from what I've seen too, I mean, I gotta tell you, man, I remember back in the old days. I don't know how long you've been using Linux, but I've been using it for a long time. And I remember back in the old days when we used to use Compiz to get animations, with the magic lamp and all that kind of stuff, and the wobbly windows and that stuff that's in KWin before KWin did all that stuff, right? And honestly, I gotta tell you, that's the thing that excites me the most about Hyperland, are those animations that he has. and the potential of what it's going to go to. Hopefully, I mean, it's it's in its infancy, or I mean, at best. So to watch it progress and grow, once it gets figured out, I'm really excited. I'm rooting for this cat, with what he's going to do, because that those were the coolest days. When I remember when people would come over to my house and I would do the desktop cube. I'd just be sitting there with my keys doing the arrows and doing the cube and just spinning it around. People were like, "Whoa, what is that?" And I'm like, "That's Linux. Windows can't do that." You know what I'm saying?
I
the
get
best
that.
you could do back then was Windows decorations. You know what I'm saying?
Well, back then, I don't know what it was called, but there was this app you could run.
Like that.
There was this app you could run that would have like termites crawl around your screen, and you could like smack them with a hammer or something. I don't remember what it was called.
Oh yeah. I can't remember the name of that app too. Yeah, that
was like back on XP or something.
A screensaver game. I can't remember what it was. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, and then I remember with the floating cow when that first came out. The jumping cow for the screensaver. People were tripping out on that.
I don't remember that one.
Oh yeah, actually, X Screensaver, is that the name of the app? It actually has it in it. It does have it in it. It's got the bouncing cow.
Actually, I just remembered something about X Screensaver.
What they should have done is they should have made it Larry the cow for Gentoo.
So I went and looked back at some early stuff about Ubuntu, because Ubuntu's done some like weird things throughout their history. This is going to tie back into X Screensaver. Back in Warty Warthog, there were so Mark Shuttleworth had a brilliant idea. It was really dumb. So Mark Shuttleworth was like, "Hey, so let's include this like tasteful nudity picture as like, I think it was going to be the login screen. There was going to be one for the calendar, and the calendar one was going to like change every month."
Right.
It got a lot of community back. Like, this was before Warty Warthog came out. This was during like the RCs. When it was added, people were like, "Why is this here?" Because there was also a bug at the time where if you were upgrading from like the previous RC to the new one and you hadn't set a custom wallpaper, which, most people using Ubuntu at that time would be upgrading because, you're using the RC before it officially released. Anyone there at that point is like very dedicated to what Ubuntu is going to become as a project.
Right.
So if you didn't have a wallpaper set, it set the calendar picture as the wallpaper. Then a lot of people suddenly saw it.
So some person's teenagers logging onto the desktop and they're seeing this new.
Yeah. And then the mailing list was just full of comments about this. But when there was a discussion about removal, which eventually did happen because it wasn't there with, when Warty Warthog came out, otherwise everybody would remember that.
Official release, yeah.
There was also brought up some stuff about X Screensaver. Now, X Screensaver at the time, I'll find this one because other distros talked about it as well. X Screensaver. Here we go. I'll send it to you because it's hilarious. This is the one from the Fedora mailing list or Fedora forums. But it was reported on Gentoo and reported on it was reported on a bunch of others as well. Does this one mention it? Here it is. Much to my surprise, I stumbled across it drawing an erect penis. At the time, there was an option in X Screensaver called penis, and flaccid penis and erect penis, and it would just draw one on your screen as a screensaver.
Right. That is awesome.
It would, and the best part about it is it was added without any mention in the changelog, so it was just suddenly there. So if you had if you just had X Screensaver like set on random, it would just come up at some point.
Oh, that's awesome.
When that happened, a bunch of distros were like, "Wait, why is this here?" And then everyone just patched it out themselves. I think it was eventually then removed from X Screensaver itself because every other distro removed it anyway. But like, there are so many weird things like that back in the early history of Linux.
The early days of Linux. Oh my God, I don't even know how to put it.
I wasn't there at that point. I started using Linux like 3 or 4 years ago. So I've just sort of gone back and looked at things in a historical manner where I can see how everything's played out. But how long have you been using Linux?
So I've been using Linux. So I can't tell you the exact year or date, but I know it's over 22 years. I remember when Ubuntu came out.
Yeah, so yeah, you would have been before Ubuntu and Fedora.
Yeah, exactly. And so the way it happened for me was I was using Windows 95 or 98. Can't remember which one. And I BSOD'd. I BSOD'd for like the 100th time. I was running a business. And I got so pissed off, I grabbed the box and I was taking it to the computer shop. And I literally had just gotten it out like a week ago, right? And I'm taking it to the computer shop and I walk in and I was at that computer shop so frequently with my business computers that they knew me by first name. Like, hey, Alex, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? That's how frequent I was there, right? So I walk in and the actual owner's son was there, and he was sitting on a corner of like a counter or something like that, and he had Linux open, and I'm like, what the hell's that? And he says, oh, this is Linux. I'm like, wow. He says, yeah, you guys are fighting that whole Windows thing, and I'm over here just cruising around surfing the net and this, that, and other. I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, all right, well, let me try that. And so he put it on my box, and it was beyond. I mean, at that time, I was not super. I'm self-taught and everything. I've not had one class of anything. You know what I'm saying? So at that time, it was super techy, and it was a frustration, you know, like none other.
Do you remember what the distro was at that point?
The distro was.
There's not that many options at that point, so
it was RHEL. It was Red Hat Enterprise. It was Red Hat.
Okay, right, that makes sense. Yeah.
It was Red Hat Enterprise, but I can't remember the actual version, whether it was like 1, 2, 12 or whatever. But at any instance, it was Red Hat, and it was very, very, very techy, because at that time, everything. I mean, there was literally, I think there was only like 3 or 4 different, you know, applications on there or programs on there that actually had a GUI. Everything was all TUI. And command line, you know what I mean? So you had to learn how to kind of do that in command line, right? I mean, and at best, I think you couldn't even get sound cards to really work with it. You know what I mean? It was really trippy. So that was my introduction to Linux. I got thrown into the deep end right from like the high dive platform, not the regular, you know, diving board. I'm talking like the high dive platform. And so that's the way it worked. And I just watched it evolve. I remember the biggest thing when Fedora came out, the biggest thing was there were GUIs. And some sound cards would actually work. And graphics card. There was a time, there used to be a time, pretty much so now you can go out and buy almost any type of piece of hardware,
pretty much,
throw it in a box, and it'll work with Linux, right?
There's some weird esoteric stuff that doesn't work exactly like, you know, Stream Deck and things like that, but like, yeah, general hardware stuff, absolutely.
Yeah, general hardware, yeah. There was a time where even general hardware, you literally had to create a shopping list based on what was known to have worked with Linux. That's how long I've been using Linux. You know, from the old days.
So looking at Red Hat at the time, it could have either been Enterprise Linux or Red Hat Linux, because Red Hat Linux still existed at the time.
No, it was Red Hat Linux. I remember that.
Oh, it was Red Hat Linux, not Enterprise. Okay.
Yeah, but I just don't know what distro, what version they were, you know, iteration they were on.
Yeah, it was definitely near the end of the life of Red Hat Linux, so it would have been Red Hat Linux. If you were given a recent version, it would have been 7.
Okay, I think that might have been. I think that's about right. I think that's about right. Yeah.
Yeah, 7.0.9 or something around that was new at the time.
Yeah, somewhere in that. Yeah, it was 7. I remember, I think that's right. Like that, 7 is right.
Because
I mean, it was amazing, and that was the one thing, and that's what I can say is this, honestly, looking back, accreditation to Canonical, they innovated and created a future single-handedly for Linux.
Yep.
Because back then, the guys at Red Hat and and they just didn't, all those guys that were doing the stuff, they didn't have any inclination to make it easy. You know what I'm saying? Or user friendly.
Fedora was
if you knew how to use it, great. If you didn't, they didn't care. Canonical took a different approach. They were like, no, we want to make this available for the world to use, And I think they literally are, put Linux on the map, so to speak.
Yeah, looking
as
at
a common user.
Looking at it now, Fedora was a year before Ubuntu came out.
Yeah, a year before Ubuntu,
so I wouldn't be surprised if... Obviously, Mark would have had the plan for a while, but seeing Fedora come out, and then a year later doing Ubuntu, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of what Ubuntu decided to do when they first released was inspired by what Fedora wasn't doing.
Oh, yes, most definitely. Most definitely there was. They came out. I think it was GNOME. They're the ones that innovated with GNOME, I think, and I think Fedora had KDE back then.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
I can't remember. I can't remember what their desktop environment was.
It might.
I've always remembered it as KDE for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but at any instance, they were competing as the two giants, behemoths that were always at the battle. They still are, but they were competing, but they were both going along the same lines. But I think Canonical just paid more attention to the finite details in the beginning.
Canonical wasn't as hard on like free software. They like wanted to make things actually work.
Right, exactly. And so I think, like I said, single-handedly to me, I think they're the main reason why Linux is even on the map right now.
Well, yeah, no, it makes sense because for a lot of people, Linux is Ubuntu. Like that's when they hear the word Linux, like they
synonymize it. Absolutely, they do. They synonymize it as Linux is Ubuntu, and in fact, it's still why people still recommend it to new Linux users, because it's like they've been saying it for how many decades now? Oh, it's Ubuntu. I remember Ubuntu. I remember they used to flood that you could request, and I remember how I got my first distribution of Ubuntu. I emailed them to send me a disk, and they actually used to mail you a disk for free.
Yeah, they had the ship it discs.
Yep, they had the ship it discs, and it was all for free.
Okay, here's one of the pictures that they actually used. This was going to be the login screen picture. That is taking a long time to send.
Oh, I see it.
That was going to be the login screen picture.
I remember that.
Yeah, they only used that one for the ship it art instead.
Yeah, and that was because I remember. No, wow, you just took me back, man. That was instantly like reminisce. I remember when that came out because their biggest claim was they were trying to unify the world.
Yeah, the circle of friends.
Yep, the circle of friends. They were trying to unify the world all through Linux, man. And that's what Linux started out to be. And look what it's turned into now. I mean, we've got all of us hanging out in different servers. We're out here creating content. We're collaborating and doing things. That's the one thing that the Linux community has always been good at. We also all tend to agree to disagree on a lot of different things.
A lot of infighting about things that don't really matter, or things that have already been decided.
Yeah, exactly. And in the end, your workflow is your workflow, and my workflow is my workflow. As long as it works for me, who cares, right? And not every, and that's like I look back and people say, why would you recommend Ubuntu with snaps to anybody and this, that, and another? And I'm like, some people really don't care how long an application takes to open up. I know it may bug you, but some people don't. They just don't. They're like, okay, I mean, it's hard to fathom that, but it's true.
I think people forget to contextualize things around. They contextualize things around Linux, not around operating systems. If you compare what Ubuntu is doing to Windows 11, like, I think I know what a lot of people like. I've been seeing a lot of people getting like really annoyed at what Windows 11 is doing. Like, if you're annoyed, try out Ubuntu, try out Linux in some form. Just see how it goes. Like, this is, I think a lot of people out there with like who haven't used Linux have these like very old, outdated information about what Linux is nowadays. Like, people still think it's what it's at like 5-10 years ago, where, you know, it legitimately was a bit of a problem. Like, just gaming, for example. A lot of people still think Proton is this thing where, you know, a lot of games aren't gonna work, it's gonna be really flaky, and yeah, there are some games that are like that, but most things just work. And the funny thing is, some games work better on Proton than do on Windows, because some of them are made for like Windows 7, Windows XP, and that's what Wine's really good at dealing with. Wine can play those games with no problem.
No problem at all. And it's so funny because that's what, so at my work, I work with a lot of millennials and whatever the next generation is after them.
Gen Z.
Z or whatever, right? And so I work with them, and it's really funny because at lunch, you know, or whatever, they'll come up to me and be like, "Hey, man, so you're the Linux YouTuber cat, right?" I'm like, "Yeah," and they're like, "All right." So, because I even got people on third shift coming to me, and they're like, "You're the Linux YouTuber cat." I'm like, "Yeah," and they're like, "Man, I've been having a problem with this game and this, that, and another, man. How does Linux do with that?" You know, because the Steam Deck has really kicked open a lot of doors, and so they're like, they're all. It's funny because they're all synonymizing Steam with Linux now. You know what I mean? And so like they're gamer and that's big in the world. So they'll come to me and they'll ask me, "How's that work?" I'm like, "It works flawlessly," or "It doesn't work flawlessly," or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Or "You got to use this version of Proton." "What's that?" And I tell them it's compatibility layer and all that stuff. And so like it's really their eyes are opening wide as to a lot of the games that they're actually being able to play on Linux. And like actually Linux, gaming on Linux is not a lost cause anymore, not like it used to be. And so I think that is actually helping Linux as well, and more people are starting to consider it. But there's still those misconceptions that people have about Linux, like you were talking about earlier, whether it's they've read somewhere or they tried it years ago when it wasn't good, and it's like now it's automatically, you know, like the Bible, that's what it is. You know what I'm saying? And it's really not. You know, but you know, I've converted to Linux, I'd say over at my workplace, I would say to 7 people.
Oh, wow. That's usually pretty good.
7 people. And I recently put Zero Linux on a Legion laptop for one of my bosses. And I said, "You are going to do something with this laptop because this laptop is, you know, 100% bad to the bone." And he's like, "I'm just going to cruise around on the internet with it." I'm like, "I want this thing to..." Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I'm like, no. I said, "At least, you know," and I do some games. I said, "Play some of these games right here." You know what I'm saying? Like, do something.
I love it when people get these like crazy machines and it's just a browser box. Like, what are we doing here? Like, it's your money. Spend it how you want to, but like, come on.
You have no idea what you've gotten, you know, going here. You know what I'm saying? It's like, but in the end, you know, and what was interesting is he hated Windows, and he's not a computer guy. And he comes up to me 2 weeks later and he says, "You know, that Linux is awesome." And I'm like, "Okay." He says, "I've never had an operating system where I could literally turn it on, click where I needed to go, and I went there and didn't have to do like 12 other clicks to get to something." He says, I could find stuff right away. He says, I never once felt like throwing this laptop across the room. Whereas with Windows, every 2 minutes I wanted to throw the damn thing or punch the screen."
Yeah, you know, Windows updates, they're fun. I love it when Windows updates happen when you gotta actually do something. Hey, you wanna delay your update? No. Go away. You update now.
Yep. Or you'll be in the middle of doing something and all of a sudden somehow it just decides to start updating and you can't stop it and it's rebooting and you lost everything you just did. Not good, man. I hate that. No, I like I said, I fell in love with Linux and it was a steep learning curve all those years ago.
I can imagine it was definitely a mess doing it back on Red Hat Linux.
So then there was a time, I can't remember what it's called. I think the NDIS wrapper or something like that for drivers, like for video cards and stuff. You actually had to go down and like almost repackage your own drivers and make a wrapper for it or something like that in order to get it to work.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not kidding, man. It was was bad.
I am very happy with the way that AMD is nowadays, where oh, my camera is out of focus. Give me a sec.
You look good to me.
No, that's the other camera.
Oh.
What do you do? There we go. Turn that. Back. And we're gonna come back. Okay, now we're good. It keeps focusing. I've got my. You've seen my videos that I have the monitor in the frame. Sometimes it decides that it wants to focus on that. I should turn my autofocus off.
I gotta tell you something, man. I really enjoy your videos, man.
Yeah, thank you.
I do. You know, and your level of knowledge is fucking amazing, dude. You know, I mean, it seriously is. I'm amazed at some of the stuff you come up with. I'm like, holy crap.
This comes from reading lots of mailing lists and lots of this information is not coming from the ether. It's all out there. I'm just spending the time going and actually finding it.
No, you know, I'm very impressed with you. You're one of my favorite YouTubers. You and DT.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I love Matt. You know, I love Matt for what he does, but more so, I love the comedic value from Matt and all the mistakes he makes is funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like my videos to be. One thing I've had to work on over the years is trying to streamline them, cutting out the bullshit, and just focusing on like the main things. Because my old videos, a lot of them, I tend to like repeat the same thing, jump back and forth between topics in ways that don't really make sense. I like what I'm doing to sort of flow in a sensible way. This is how I talk normally. For anyone who hasn't like just heard me talking off the cuff, I have no idea what I'm saying half the time. It's just rambling nonsense. I have to be very particular about how I put my videos together. Otherwise, they will make absolutely no sense.
Your mind is like mine then, because you'll have one intent thought and then all of a sudden another thought will come by, and it'll be like that comes out of your mouth because it's also is also as pertinent as the first thought. And you want to get them both out.
Yeah.
So I understand exactly what you're saying. I've done that so many times.
Yeah, when I'm playing like a game on stream, for example, like I'm talking about something, having a serious conversation, then at the corner of my eye I see a chest. Like, oh, chest. Let's go see that.
Yeah. So like I get like in some of the, because I do, like Matt said, I do a lot of distro reviews because I'm doing it for a lot of the new to Linux users, and really what it is they're constant. People just ask me to do them. I don't know why I've gotten into that.
I was going to ask you like why you do so many distro reviews. Like what will you actually get out of it? Like what the point of them are?
So I do it to present Linux in a positive way to a lot of people, to make, not like, once again going back to that, this distro doesn't work for you, but it works for me. You know what I'm saying? And so I want to present as many distros as I can in a positive way for people. And so the reason why I do that, and also it's been lately, it's and the ones that I do, if you notice, a lot of the ones I do are not the common ones. They're not like the Ubuntu's and Ubuntu's. It's like ones you've never heard of, you know what I'm saying? Or independent ones, that kind of stuff. I want to bring those. I did see you had
Nabara in there. That's probably like and obviously Ubuntu, but like, Nabara was probably like the most well-known one out of most of these I can see here. Yeah.
So Nabara was one of my first ones that I did because it first came on. It was when GE actually made it, created it. That's when I did it. So it was still new at the time. It wasn't even really known. But it, because of the gaming aspect of it and how it just exploded, and so I do those for that, and it's to help developers get their stuff out there and build up the community, and to let new to Linux users do that, get their choice, But I like doing other things. In fact, I'm actually trying to do another totally different off topic from Linux type channel as well. And so, but that's why. And lately, it's gotten to be where the thing is everybody finds these out of the way ones, and they send them to me to review because they want to see what my review is going to be like. So that's really what I get all the time. All the time. That's where most of them come from. It's not me going out and finding them. It's them sending it to me saying, do this. You know what I'm saying? So it's just what people have monikered me to be. I mean, there was another YouTuber that was doing it, but I don't know where that person was getting their information. Oh, I saw that eyebrow. where that person was getting their information from, in the sense of what, how, if they had subscribers sending it to him,
Uh-huh.
or if he was just, picking them out of the ether or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And he
Uh-huh.
could seem to only pull the same straws every now and then. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, yes. I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to go down that route, but at any instance, that's, so for me, that's what it is. And then of
Mhm.
course you get the guy, like Ten Lee J, who gets in there and every video is like, this is not a Gentoo video. I don't think I can take this one. This is not good content.
Oh god. Yeah, I had him on the podcast. I think it would have been wait. I had him on the podcast like last week or something. It's not gone up yet. But
Yeah,
yeah, that was fun. I definitely enjoyed that. But yeah, his content's just like nonsense. It's just whatever comes to mind.
he's an awesome guy, but I'll tell you, some of the tangents he gets on, it's
Mhm.
like, whoa, whoa.
Mhm,
He's a really awesome guy, man.
mhm, mhm.
Awesome guy, knowledgeable. Holy cow. I'm in, like I said, I've been at it a lot longer than a lot of you guys, and you guys' knowledge is amazing. It's just amazing. I don't know if it's because you guys grew up more techie than me and I had to fight for it more.
Mhm.
I mean, back in my day, the earliest computer was Commodore 64
Mhm.
and ColecoVision by Atom, or Atom by ColecoVision.
Mhm.
you know, so I mean, yeah, I mean, it's just yeah, I'm blessed. I look at it this way:
Mhm.
I'm blessed to have you guys include me. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? That's how I feel. You guys are awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. You're awesome as well.
Yeah.
I think I didn't have an internet connection until about 2005 or so. Because when I lived
Mhm.
in Queensland, we lived like very rural area. My both my parents grew up on farms. They didn't care about the internet. They didn't know what the internet was. We didn't have an
Right.
internet connection. It wasn't until we moved out of that area to South Australia and started living in the suburbs where we actually
hmm
got a connection. That
Was
was
it high speed internet or was it dial up?
it wasn't dial up. No, it was. I think we had like two down or something. So high speed relative to dial up, but like not that great. It was
Right.
functional. Um, and Australia up until probably like the 2010s had pretty bad internet. Like as a like residential connection, really the best you could get at the time was like 10 down or so. So it just and that was if you were lucky. I think I had like 5 down until a couple of years ago. Like
Really?
yeah, probably until like 2015, 2016, something like that. Um
Wow.
yeah, like the internet here has always been an absolute mess. But yeah, I think I got interested in computers around the same time as well, though, because that's when we got. Did we? No. I think we got our first home computer then, like when I got that connection, and
Right.
but I had used a computer at like my friend's house. They had like I think I was running like Windows 98 or something. This was well into the lifespan of XP, and then I had a
Right.
cousin. I had a cousin who was a software engineer, and I think he was a big part of the reason I got interested in what I'm doing now. I think he's still doing it now. Uh, but yeah, I ever since that point I've been interested in just like at the time I was using Windows, but I've been generally just interested in tech. And I've always
hmm
sort of wanted to do something involved in tech, whether that was being a developer, sysadmin, what I'm doing now, just something in this space.
Oh, that's cool. What was your first? So you recently came into Linux
Mhm.
within like 4 or 5 years, you said, right?
Yeah.
So what was your initial distribution that you first used?
Arch Linux. That was the first one
You went straight to Arch.
that's the first one I daily drove. I had used because I was in a software engineering degree at the time. I had used
Mhm.
Ubuntu and OpenSUSE in a VM because there was like some classes we had. One of the classes we were like learning how like basic Linux system management works, but like actually
Mhm.
daily driving it, it would have been Arch Linux. Yes, Arch Linux and the i3 window manager because I was copying Luke Smith at the time.
Oh, no kidding. Wow. So you went window manager right from the get go.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're still there in the window manager, or do
Yeah,
you?
now I'm on Hyperland, so Whaling Compositor, but yeah, still window manager in
So
same
how does
sense.
OBS work on Hyperland for you?
Well, besides that crash we saw at the start, besides that, so up until about 2 years ago, OBS did not work on Wayland.
Right.
Like you could run it, but it couldn't capture your desktop. It couldn't capture Wayland Windows. It was
Right.
basically unusable. After that point, Georgia Stavrakis worked on some stuff. That's when all of the desktop portal stuff happened, where we had like the video capture portal.
Right.
From that point, it's worked fine. Like ever since that happened, it's just been good. Hyperland actually does some things better than Sway. Sway has this bug right now where you can't like window capture in OBS. You can only capture your desktop. It's been a bug for a while. There's like there is a workaround.
Sway?
Yeah, Sway.
Yeah.
Hyperland uses a fork of the WL Roots portal and fixes that problem. So it just works.
Got you.
The only issue I've had is occasionally the portal's a bit flaky and sometimes it will crash and that might cause OBS to crash. Besides that, it's pretty much good.
Nice. Well, the reason why I was wondering is because our generation has had grown up with technology in their hand from the beginning. And so I always, that's why when I make my videos and I recommend things, I always try to realize who I'm the audience. Like one of the things that performers tell you is read the room. Know your audience. You know what I'm saying? Know what you're trying to do. And that's what I tried to do. And so that's why I asked that question, because I realized that in communication with lots of people through, my Discord or through, comments on my videos or, just DMs from Facebook and Instagram and, Twitter and all that stuff, that a lot of the people that I'm dealing with, they're jumping in to like window managers right off the bat and Arch Linux. They're not, starting off with a desktop environment, and going into that. So, I mean, it blows me away how much more advanced it seems like people that are coming to Linux are. And I think that's what's creating a large positive environment for it and growth. I think that's where a lot of the growth is coming from.
I think there's still a lot of people in that, like in that spot where your boss was at, was just like, I want something that works. I don't understand computers. But there is definitely, because there are so many resources nowadays on how to like set up Arch and how to get everything working, it's a lot more approachable than it would have been. Like, we can all say, just read the documentation, read the man page, all that stuff. And that's great if that's the kind of person you are, but that's not the way that most people work. Most people
are correct.
Yeah, most people want to have like, some sort of guide, some sort of like, there's a reason why videos are so popular. Like, people can complain about videos all they want, but there's a reason why videos are a lot more popular medium than like text-based guides. They are so much easier to use. Yes, they might get a bit outdated, and yes, they are hard to update, but when they are like when they are actually in that span where they're useful, they are very useful.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really funny because before I became a YouTuber, I used to go to YouTube for that. I'd be like, how do I change this part on this card? Somebody's got to come up with a faster way of doing it. So I would just Google it and then I'd YouTube it, and look it up, you know what I'm saying? And so you're absolutely right. I mean, videos are popular for a reason. And I think, like I said, with people making desktop, managers, customizing them, setting them up, installing and stuff like that, that it's become so easy, that you can just do it in 10 minutes. I mean, even Arch must have gotten a clue somewhere when they created their installer script.
Well, the fun thing about Arch and people complaining about Arch having the installer, Arch had an installer when it first came out. Like, Arch basically had a TUI installer like Debian had. They got rid of it at some point because it wasn't being maintained properly. But they had one at the start.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just funny how even they went back to that, instead of doing the whole, command line doing it one thing at a time, you know. So I mean, I think, you know, like I said,
obviously the command line install is always going to be like that's the way the hardcore users are always going to do it, because it just gives you more control. But as like a simple install, like having it there is just it does make it easier. It's the reason why, you know, the reason why people sort of shy away from Arch and just go with like Endeavor or Manjaro or Garuda, because, you know, you have the nicer installer.
Right. Well, yeah, and also, you know, it's really funny because when you boil it down and you look at the Linux users, you find that there's only two beasts that you're dealing with.
Okay.
You've got the full-on, give me everything, full cup of tea guy, and then you've got the minimalist guy. Somewhere in between, you might find somebody that's in between, but they're not direct center. They're off to one, they lean to one side more or other. And so that's why I think you always, I think there's more of the maximalist, you know, give me my desktop environment, give me this, that stuff, all these apps already, you know, in here. This is what I want, because they don't want to take the time to set it up their own way. They just want to use it and go, you know? And so that's where I like you were saying, you know, the vets and the more older guys that have already been wild with it, they tend to do their own building stuff, and that's why the TUIs are, you know, they don't need TUIs and stuff like that. And then there's the masochists who like building Gentoo.
Gentoo's not that difficult. It's just time consuming. It's about as difficult as installing Arch.
Huh?
Gentoo's about as difficult as installing Arch. It's just very time consuming.
Yeah, absolutely. But, you know, in fact, I would surmise that Linux from scratch is even harder.
I don't know if I'd call Linux from scratch hard. Have you looked much into it?
I have looked into it, and I've tried it once or twice, but I didn't get very far with it.
Right.
And that's what I said. To me, it was a little bit harder because, I guess no, they got the same kind of level of documentation.
Yeah, the reason I wouldn't say it's hard is because every command you need to run is, like, documented out. It's just a lot of commands and a lot of time.
That's what I mean. It seems like it's a lot more. Whereas, well, I guess if you build Gentoo the traditional way, then you're doing the same amount of commands.
Sure.
But if you do the one where you use like a disk, you know, to start it with, then that's a little bit shorter. A little bit easier. I can't remember what it's called.
Stage 3 ISO, I think is what it's called. Stage 4, whatever number it is.
Yeah. Stage 4. The Stage 4.
No, wait. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Or you could go, you could go and suffer through it and just do everything from the start if you really wanted to, but don't.
Yeah, I'm saying if you want to do it from the beginning, the traditional way, it's like Linux from scratch. It's tons of commands, line by line by line. But if you do the cheating way and kind of do the stage 4, so to speak, I don't want to call it cheating because nothing's cheating. In the end, man, if you win the game, you win the game. You know what I mean? And so to me, you know, if you do it that way, I think that's the more sane way of doing it. Or you could do like some people just install Red Core or what's it called? The other one, you know, and just install where it's already done as an ISO.
So nowadays, so you started on Red Hat Linux. What are you actually using nowadays as your like daily driver?
My daily driver, so I'm on Arco Linux B. I really am a fan of Eric Dubois' work. And I use his i3 window manager. I'm getting ready to what I was going to try, it was the Hyperland. His Hyperland version. And I haven't tried it yet, but I really like his work. I like the completeness of it. And to be honest with you, the .config files, the dot files are pretty much what I put in mine when I've done it in the past. So it's like I don't have to carry a library over. You know, of dot files. You know, it's pretty complete. When you look at his dot files, they're pretty complete. You know, he's added stuff in there. You know what I mean? In fact, I'd say he's added a lot of stuff, too much stuff. You know what I'm saying?
But
I mean,
But you were saying before about looking up videos to like just find things. Speaking of people that you can look up things and find things, Eric has way too many videos on things going on with Arco.
Yeah, I think he's up to like what 4,000 videos or something like that.
I don't know.
I think he puts out a video a day. Yeah, he puts out a video a day.
No, he puts out like 6 videos a day. Some
Is it
days.
6 videos a day?
Some days. So
Are you serious?
let's see. Past 24 hours, we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6 videos.
Wow. Wow. That man just eats, breathes, and sleeps Arco
Yeah.
Linux.
Yeah.
That's why it's so complete. I guess it's so thorough.
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, have you looked at some of his dot files? Like,
I know I haven't.
At his i3? Go look at his i3 config file
We should be able to find, if I look up Arco Linux
or BSPWM file. Any of them, man. Look, they're all the same.
Arco Linux -i3. Is this it? Ah, here it is. Okay, yep, cool. I found the GitHub.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look at that thing.
Key definition is to remember. Okay.
You're scrolling for days. He's got stuff in there that you don't ever, nobody really uses, but it's still in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, a lot of stuff is just commented out if you want to use it.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
There's different iterations of the same command, like your audio settings.
Yeah.
You know, use play CTL or debus send.
Yeah, yeah.
What?
He covers every base in there.
Jesus.
I mean, it's amazing. I mean, it is single-handedly one of the largest config files I've ever looked at. Ever. I was like, wow.
Well, if I need to recommend someone a default config, I might just send them to this from now on.
Absolutely. It's guaranteed to cover everything. I mean, he's got everything in there. Everything in there.
Does he fix
his bash RC files the same way? You should check out his bash RC file.
Oh god, let's have a look. I don't even want to imagine what the bash RC is going to look like.
He's got aliases for everything, man. You should check it out, man.
I think this is it. Wait, no, this is... Oh, wait, no, this might be it. Okay, here we go. Yeah, okay. I just started scrolling. Yeah, okay. Wait, and he's got like 7 different iterations of the same alias for some of them.
Yep.
Key fix, key dash fix, keys fix, fix key, fix keys.
He's even got misspelled, the most common misspelled aliases in there, misspelling for aliases. Like update with like without the P in it or something. It's like udate or something like that.
Oh, he's also got at the bottom where it like runs neofetch. He's got like 12 different other tools you can use in place of neofetch.
All of them. Yeah.
I've like looked at a lot of this stuff. I've not even heard of some of these. What in the world is
I'm
OC?
telling you, that's what I was saying.
What? Okay. Sure. Sure.
That's what I'm saying. Seriously, that's one of the reasons why I like Arco is because like he has everything that I would use in there. It's just easy, just uncommented. You know what I mean? And you're good to go. I'm
personally not a fan of having a bunch of aliases that I didn't make myself, just because I don't think you'll ever remember them.
I know. I get rid of when I set mine up. I get rid of a lot of those. I yank them out. You know what I'm saying? I yank them out and get rid of them.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just to me, it's easier instead of typing it all, just yank it out. You know what I mean?
No, that's fair. So I get that.
When I saw his configs, I'm like, that's what I'm using.
Mm-hmm.
That's my template, and then I'm just customizing it to my own. You know.
So you said there was a Hyperland version as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I think he's got a Hyperland version as well. You're thinking, let me check this out.
Yeah, no, I want to see what he's done in here. Hyperland desktop. No, I want to see the actual config. I can't find it as easily this time. No, that's the ISO itself. Hyperland config. Is that gonna find it? My Hyperland. No, that's someone else's setup. There is a Hyperland ISO. I'm just not sure where the config is. It will be somewhere on the GitHub.
It's got to be somewhere. Yeah.
I'll see if I can find it afterwards.
Yeah, just look. You know, go do a little deep dive on that later on. I mean, I'm telling you, the man is thorough at best, man. He's thorough, and you know, it's so. Like I said, you know, that's what my daily driver is, and that's why I use it. You know, it's easy to set up. I just cut out what I don't need, and I'm good to go because it's other than that, it is what I've always done.
So how did you get from Red Hat Linux to here? So where did you actually go after Red Hat Linux? Because that stopped in 2003 when Fedora came out.
I went to Fedora.
Okay, right. That makes sense.
I jumped to Fedora for a while. Then I played with Conical for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to PC Los for a while.
PC Los.
And Mandriva.
Okay. What's PC Los? Oh, PC Linux OS.
Yeah, PC Linux OS.
I didn't know anyone abbreviated to PC Los.
PC Linux OS. I used to call it PC Los, whatever. I did that for a while. Then I went to Mandriva.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did Debian for a while. Just regular standard Debian. That one I rocked for the longest.
Okay.
Because the packages were just phenomenal.
Right,
You know what I mean?
right.
The packages were just phenomenal. I rocked that one for the longest. And then when Arch came out, I didn't try it at first because, to be honest with you, I was working. Where was I working at? I was working at a computer shop.
Right.
And I was doing a lot of Windows work.
Mm.
And so I was doing a lot of Windows work and dealing with a lot of, Microsoft Office and all that kind of crap. So I had to have Windows at home. So I started driving Windows for a while there,
Mm-hmm.
for a period of about 2 years, 3 years. And then when I came back, then I dove into Arch.
Right.
And then I just been whatever. I could use whatever flavor comes along now.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So whatever really what has been when I get bored of a distro, whatever, I've got loaded up onto a pen drive, I just use that.
Mm-hmm.
I just use whatever I come across. What I'm saying? Fine. It's different. It's new again. See what's new here. And then my whole world got turned upside down when Ventoy came along. And I could have like 12
I've heard good things about Ventoy. I've not actually used it. People have asked me to do videos on it for God knows how long now.
Well, I did a video on it.
When did it come out?
Oh, it's been out. I don't remember when it came out.
Initial release 2020. Oh, it actually is fairly new. Huh.
Yeah.
It's
the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah, give people just a brief explanation of Ventoy for anyone who hasn't heard about it.
So Ventoy is a application that you download. It's in the repositories or it's in the AUR and also in Pac-Man if you're on Arch. But you can download it, and what it does is it turns a USB drive, like you take a 60 gig USB drive, and it makes it into an actual bootable ISO drive where you can literally just drag and drop ISOs as many as you want that'll fill up that hard drive. Mm-hmm. And when you boot into it into your grub, you can pick the USB drive, and then it'll give you a GUI in there where you can select which ISO you want to boot into. Mm-hmm. So it's literally a distro hopper's dream, or a computer repairman's dream, or software guy's dream, because you can and it's not specific to Linux only. It's actually, you can put Windows on there, anything that's an ISO on there, an IMG. I think you can use image files too.
I should get around to messing with Ventoy at some point.
It's straight up badass.
It does look really cool. Like for me though, it's not something that I would use in like my personal usage. I'm not much of a distro hopper. I use Arch, and Arch does what I need to do.
Yeah.
But I can see why, if you like, actually, when you do your distro reviews, do you do them on hardware or in a VM?
So I do them in hardware and I do them in VM.
Okay.
It depends on, it depends on, like oftentimes I'll talk to some of the developers and they'll tell me, I'd rather it be done on hardware or whatever. But if it's one of the common big ones, that I'm doing, I'll do it usually in a VM.
Yeah. Ubuntu, Fedora, that stuff's gonna be fine.
Yeah, I do it in a VM because pretty much so somebody's already thrown it on a box, they kind of know. I'm just showing the highlights of what's changed. But when it's something that's an independent or something like that, what I'll do is I have a T40 Lenovo laptop that I'll throw it on. Mm-hmm. And then what I'll do is I'll port that into my video capture card, mm-hmm. and I'll capture it that way. And it's actually done on hardware.
Yep.
I mean, that's to me, it's the fair way of doing it. Giving it a good shake on hardware.
Mm-hmm. What do you use to get?
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, what are you using to get the video stream?
A mirror box capture card.
Oh, okay.
4K.
Mirrorbox. I've not heard of that one.
Yeah.
Mirrorbox capture. Oh!
This little bad boy. This little bad boy right here.
Yeah, I've not used. I have heard of this one. Yeah, I just
it's a
hadn't.
4K capture card.
Huh. That's cool.
Yep. Yeah, it's got HDMI input and USB 3 input, and then it's got 4K out, man. It's pretty sweet little box. I think it cost me. Oops, I hit my mic. I think it cost me a whopping total of like $80, $90.
Yeah, that'd be the normal price. Right now, it's if anyone wants one, it is 40% off, so you can get it for $50.
Oh, see, look at that! You're already getting a deal.
Wow, this is an old ad. It shows Xbox 360 game capture.
Oh wow, yeah, that's old. You know, if that's anything like Amazon that you were looking at,
yeah, it was Amazon.
Yeah, probably old things. But yeah, no, it works flawlessly. I actually have two of them. Because sometimes a gamer tube will come over, and we'll do live stuff or whatever, and then he'll come over and like he'll use one and I'll use another one, you know, for his to capture some of his screen content or his gameplay. Yeah, no, that's what I do to get the actual on hardware.
Right.
Because I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I am not trying. I do have a terabyte NVMe. And I'm not partitioning it. I'm not doing all that crap just because I also have my Steam library on here. I need that space. So I'm not wiping and redoing
that's
hard
totally
drive
fair.
every time. Screw that. I'm sorry. You know, not when I can get it to work that way and still give you a decent review.
No, that's totally fair. I just wasn't sure if you did it on hardware or not. Because I know DT has had issues in the past where distro maintainers have gotten bothered with him because he tested something and then it was an absolute mess in a virtual machine. It was like a horrible laggy mess, and they were just like, it's not like this. This is not at all what this distro is. Like, just test on hardware and you'll see what it's actually like.
Well, and that's fair, and that's a fair point, you know, and that's why, like I said, a lot of your major ones will actually do that. You know, they'll work in a VMware, but that's why I tend to do the smaller independent ones not that way, because a lot of them don't have that developmental time to be putting into, you know, creating the VMware side of it and stuff that. So,
well, usually it should just work. It's just a matter of when things go wrong, then someone's got to deal with it, and
yeah. And what's interesting too, which blows my mind away, is how, and maybe it's because I don't 100% understand all of the virtualization aspects of things, but how certain distros will work flawlessly in VirtualBox, but they will work. They will be totally piss poor in Virt Manager or GNOME boxes. You know what I mean? And how they're very picky about which Virt Manager, you know, which virtualization you're using to run it in. It's wild how that works.
Yeah, my extended virtualization is like the major distros, so the Fedoras, the Ubuntus, the Gentus of the world. So I've not really dealt with that. All of those work fine in VirtualBox. Like, I've not had a problem. But I could imagine there is some oddities with the other ones, especially.
That's what I'm saying. There is oddities because I do that, you know, and I do test things in a virtual machine as well. You know, I've found that to be something that's trippy. How. And that's why even DT, if you go back and look at some of Derek's older videos, if you go back and look at some of his older videos, you'll see where he's running VirtualBox on this one, and then he'll be running Virt Manager on this one.
Right.
And I wondered, I thought, maybe he just did it differently. Whatever. It's probably because some of them won't work in there and some will work. I mean, it's a trip how that is. You know, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, in the end, the best way to do it, if you can, is just do it on hardware. Because if it's not going to run on hardware, then like the distro doesn't matter. Like that's a problem from the start.
Yeah, well, if I can't get it to go on hardware with the crap, then I don't even do the review.
Yeah, that's fair.
I just don't. You know what I mean? I just don't. You know, I can't tell you how many. I probably got about, right offhand, I could tell you at least 20 distros that were sent to me by users that when I threw it on hardware, it was not good at all. And I was like, yeah, I'm not even doing this review. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or it was literally minus branding a clone of something else.
Right.
You know, I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that either. You know what I mean? I'm sorry. You know,
No,
I mean,
that's fair.
if you're gonna create your own distro, then at least have enough separation between your fork that you're forking from.
I will give one exception to that. Rocky Linux, because it's rel.
Yeah.
That's the one exception where you can be a clone and just remove the branding and it's fine, because that's the whole purpose of, having Rocky Linux.
Yes, yeah, you're right. You're correct in that 100%. I agree. But I mean that's what I'm looking at. And you know what's another thing that had blown my mind away is how, because I was in my own world, just doing my own thing, concentrating on, what videos I'm going to make, like the PyCom one that I did. And, I'd like to do a lot of hardware stuff too, because I'm a hardware guy.
Right.
Some people are software guys. I'm a hardware guy. And so doing all these things, right? And so like, I didn't realize, I knew there were a lot of different distributions of Linux. I didn't realize that there's like 600 or more.
Yeah. That's just the ones that are captured by DistroWatch, which are the
And
ones that are like maintained.
I think the greatest distribution ever made was the Hannah Montana one.
That's a pretty good one. For anyone who hasn't seen it, I'll just show it. Why not? Hannah Montana Linux. Okay, here we go. There we go. Hannah Montana Linux. Enjoy. Mm-hmm. Or HML for short. I don't. Stop it. What is it based on? It's using KDE 4.2. Debian. Oh no, it's based on. It's based in Ubuntu.
Ubuntu, yeah.
This is so stupid.
It's the greatest. It's awesome.
I love that their webpage has basically no styling to it. It's.
Yeah, no, it was created, I think, as a total joke.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I don't think it even has any maintenance done to it at all.
No, it's KDE 4.2 apparently.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like I said, I was blown away with how many actual distributions are out there.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're growing more and more. Like the kid that brought back Unity. Can't think of his name.
Rudra, is that his name? I think
yeah. Anyhow, he's actually working on a whole nother one as well, and it's just awesome.
Actually, I can't remember the name of it. Have you looked at his Twitter bio? Because he lists out all of the projects he works on.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can find it. Is that it? Is that his account? Or is that someone else with the same name? No, okay, this is it. Official Ubuntu member. Fair enough, okay. Project lead of Ubuntu Unity, Ubuntu Web, BlendOS, Unity X, Game on Ubuntu, Una, Modron, Ubuntu Education, Ubuntu Remixes, LOL, and Skull Systems. Yeah,
Does this kid have no life?
He's the BlendOS developer, in case you didn't realize that as well. But yeah,
I
know he doesn't have a life. I don't know.
Wow. That's the go-getter right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is one of this is someone who's going to be like, when they're like, in their 20s or 30s, is going to be one of these people that everybody knows in the Linux space.
Absolutely. And he'll have such a body of work underneath of him that it's just going to be impressive. He's almost like the Linus Torvalds of distros. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's what it's like. It's
I know what you're saying. Like, this guy's got like a lot of stuff he's working on.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, and this when he started doing it, it was like 10 years old, 12 years old,
something like that.
It's crazy. It's just, and to me, I'm 53 years old, and I'm still amazed that I can still edit a config file anymore. You know what I'm saying?
When I was 10 years old, I was riding a BMX bike and crashing into trees. Yeah, that's about right.
I think that's what, in my generation, we did the same thing, and we were playing G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
G.I. Joe, plastic G.I. Joes.
Mm-hmm.
My first computer my first computer, it was funny. I was thinking about that when you were talking about your internet, your home internet, getting your first computer and stuff. My first computer was at Coleco, or Atom by ColecoVision, but my first actual, desktop computer with a monitor and everything else. Because even those computers, like the Commodore 64, you hooked them up to your TV.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But the one that came with an actual monitor was it was Intel. I think it was Intel, and it was a 386.
Yep.
And then I upgraded to a 486, and then I got the 486 DX2.
And then all your games broke because they were tied to the CPU frequency.
Yeah, and so I mean, it was slow at best. I think I might have had 128 megabytes of RAM. And maybe 200 megabytes for a hard drive space. And I ran Windows 3.1, and then I upgraded to 3.11 for workgroups, which was 13 freaking floppy drives to install that thing with. An install of Windows back then literally took half a day.
I'd never actually experienced installing Windows until Windows 8, I think. Because up until then, the family computers, like, we just bought new computers. Like, my parents didn't know that you could upgrade Windows. Like, that wasn't a thing.
It was loaded. And it just came loaded. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I remember those days.
Yeah, it wasn't until I bought my own PC and had Windows 7 on it, then I upgraded to... No, I would have installed 7 then. Yeah, I would have installed 7 and then upgraded to 8. Yeah.
Ironically, that's the only version of Windows I ever liked was 7.
So there's a not an insignificant number of people that are still using Windows 7.
And they refuse to let it go.
Yeah, so if you... I'll see if I can find this. So... Steam announced a while back that they were going to finally drop Windows 7 support. And there is a lot of people who were like...
that backlashed on it.
Real anger. It's like 1% of the community. Because there's like 1% of people still use it, which is crazy. But like, there are a lot of people that were really angry about this. Like, how dare you... break Windows 7 support. I bought these games. My computer only supports Windows 7. It's like, okay.
Just like, it's really funny you mentioned that because we're talking technology. And the one thing that technology does to people is people either love to change and upgrade their technology or they just ride it out to the bitter end. And most people tend to be the ride it out to the bitter end. I mean, there are people out there, the people that are doing the Windows 7 thing, actually their first round was Windows XP. They did the same thing with Windows XP.
There were people in the comments being like, hey, we did this on Windows XP. There were people that managed to like skip the EOL date and like do some stuff to Steam to make it still run.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And a lot of it has to do with changing your hardware clock. What they'll do is they'll change their hardware clock back.
Yeah.
For like, I don't know how many decades back, but they'll change it to back. And then what they'll do is they'll set their internet connection to not update the time to the operating system. So that way it'll still think it's still live. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, no, I mean, they did that with Windows XP. It's the same way. They just wanted to keep it around for it. They love their XP and they're just not going to change it.
I get liking it, but there comes a point where like something goes EOL, and once it's gone EOL, you should not be running it. Like, really.
Well, the security risks are tremendous.
It's one thing if we're talking like an air gap system, things like that. Like, that's fine.
Yeah.
But like your daily driver, where you're doing your banking and you're doing all of this stuff, you should not.
You're connected to the internet.
Yeah, you should not be using something EOL.
No.
I remember a couple of years back, there was this blog post that came out from Linux Mint, where I think it was 2021. There was, I think, 30% of their user base that was using a version of Mint that was 2 years EOL.
Are you kidding me?
Their numbers were a bit, because you don't have like crazy analytics on Linux. The numbers are a bit flaky, but like, yeah, the numbers were like anywhere from 10 to 30% using 2-year EOL version of Mint. And it makes sense with Mint because Mint is one of those distros that will get
Stable.
installed on people's computers that don't know about Linux.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the beginner. That's synonymous with Ubuntu. You know, it's usually Ubuntu Mint that everybody wants.
Yeah, because Mint is like, it looks like Windows.
Yeah, like Windows XP,
Or
you
Cinnamon,
know,
I
or
guess,
Windows 7
technically,
actually. Yeah, it's 7 now, but it used to be XP.
Mm-hmm.
But at any instance, yeah, and so they just don't want to update, and they're so happy to not be forced to update. So they just keep riding it out, and that makes sense. I get that, you know, but still, that's, you know, you would think that they would have a way of actually notifying them through like a package, you know, like no more updates, no more anything, and your stuff gets so antiquated it doesn't actually work with stuff.
I think
that
back then a lot of that stuff wasn't really taken seriously. Nowadays, more distros are having things like that, mentioning like this is out of date, this needs to be fixed, things like that. But this was still back when a lot of people were very afraid of automatic updates and things like that.
Yeah.
With the rise of like image-based distros like Silverblue and things like that, it's gotten less taboo to have a distro that just automatically updates nowadays.
Yeah. Yes, this is true. And you know what's funny is to this day, sometimes I still struggle with seeing that you have these updates ready. You know that you get that your Pac-Man like Pamac will give you that little red thing, and it's like you got updates ready. And I still find myself sometimes trying to gravitate to go to click that and check on them. You know what I mean?
So I don't have any icon there. I forgot to upgrade my. I don't know the last time I updated my system. Probably like a week or two ago. I should probably do that. Yeah, especially right now.
Yeah. Bro.
Yes.
Bro.
Yes.
Dude. I love your top grade freaking video.
Oh yeah, and top grade's a really cool project. I think they had like the top grade died, and then there's like a Rust fork of it or something that people are maintaining. I think that's what it is.
Is that the one that's in the AUR?
It's the one that Zero Linux uses, whatever version that is.
Yeah, I think that's the one that's in the AUR.
Yeah, top grade RS. Yeah.
Yep. Anyhow, I'm going to tell you right now, man, that thing was freaking phenomenal. That video, I mean, I was like, I saw that and I'm like, one package manager ended what? And I watched your video.
Is that what
and I was like,
that sounds like a.
That's I can't remember. I can't remember the title.
No, that sounds like a title I would use.
So anyhow, I can't remember the name of the title, but anyhow, I was like, what? And I watched the video and I'm like, where has this been all my life? I'm like, this is fantastic. This is totally amazing. It kind of reminds me of if they could colorize it a little bit better or something like that, make it look like kind of like Nala, because Nala is kind of the same way for the app package manager. But I mean, it was amazing. I was like, and I love how it separates the Pac-Man, like in my instance, Pac-Man, and then it does AUR, and then flat packs, and at the end, how it categorizes it and separates it all out, so you can see exactly what you did. Dude, that's so cool. That was so cool.
Yeah, I like finding these really cool projects out there. Like nowadays I do a lot less videos on software projects. Early days I did I would pick anything. I would do a video on anything. Nowadays I like to focus more on things that are interesting, that are trying to do something different. And Top Grade was absolutely one of those projects. How long ago did I do a video on Top Grade?
I don't know. It was one. I actually found it on Steve's page because I just did the. Did one of his reviews.
A year ago. Wow, that was a while ago.
Was it a year ago?
I thought it was longer.
Yeah, no, I just found that video. I mean, you pop up in my feed every now and then. And I always check out your videos because I love your content. I mean, I really do. And so I'll watch your content, and when you pop up, and that was one that popped up, and I was like, oh my God. And then I saw it on Steve's thing. And you did it, on Steve's, he's got it in his, I don't know if it was the XFCE one or one of those, he's got it in, so when you go to his web, the zerolinux.xz and go to his forums and you go to the spins, it's in the spin, each spin, like the GNOME G spin or X0G and 0xFCE, it's in there where I saw it. But I was like that is so cool. That's a very cool little tool.
It's definitely like, I, doesn't like GNOME Software Center do that like partially with like Flatpak and apt or something? I don't actually use
Something like
GNOME,
yeah, I think it
but it
does.
doesn't do
It does do that.
everything.
But it doesn't do everything like Top. I don't. I think Top Grade's the only one that does everything.
Mm-hmm.
Everything. You know, I mean, it's very thorough, and it's nice because I even just aliased it.
Mm.
I just did an alias. So when I do like what is my it's top up for top update.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, top grade update, top up. I just type in top up and boom, it just does it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
I've not used it in a while. But yeah, I'm happy it's still going well. A lot of the projects I will do like videos on things. I do. Even though I've done videos on all these projects, I don't necessarily keep using them. But I'll definitely like check back on them every so often to see how they're going, especially the ones that are actually still going. Because there's a lot of things I've done videos on where they'll like, it's, hey, I made something cool, and then it just dies like a couple of weeks later, and it goes archived.
Right.
But when
That happens
something,
with everything.
but when something does actually have a user base and it is filling a need that people have, like that's cool. I'm happy that people are getting something out of something that they didn't know about before.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, that's your Where Are They Now series.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Solace. You know, I mean,
Oh yes,
that's a great series. I mean, you know, and that's, you know, it's really, like I said, you know, that's the part that also I love a lot about Linux too, that you don't get in Windows or Mac because of the nature of it being open source. You have so many people working on so many different things that Linux as an actual ecosystem is growing so much in every different direction. You know what I mean?
No, I know exactly what you mean. Like,
you just don't get that kind of community anywhere else.
the only issue you have is you will see areas that are then underserved. Like,
Correct.
from my understanding, I audio stuff is still a bit behind where it should be on the Windows side. Like audio production stuff is still behind where Windows is. But it also means you can get like there is some level of like open Windows development done on the Windows side that is all open. But it's not the focus. Like most of the Windows software you see is proprietary software. But that's there is some on the Linux side as well, but most people just don't accept that as like a reasonable way to design software. So you get a lot more openness. The only downside with that is a lot of people find it hard to monetize something when you have it so open, which means a lot of developers just can't put in the money, can't put in the time they otherwise would if they were able to afford doing this on more part-time or even full-time basis.
Yeah. And that's why we lose so many great developers to Windows, because they have the money bags. And they're like, here, you know, why not get paid for what you're doing? You know, and that's why you'll see in a lot of my videos, you know, and this goes for you, this goes for me, this goes for anybody who's doing anything to help promote or build up the Linux community. In fact, on one of my videos just recently, I had a guy say, why are you begging for money? Well, it's because all this stuff takes money. You know, and that's historically been a problem for Linux. You've got so many people putting out this free product out there, and everybody's like, oh, it's free, like they deserve it. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying they don't deserve it, and I'm not trying to come off pretentious, but I'm just trying to come out to the point that you take time out of your day to make these videos, to bring knowledgeable content to people, to make their Linux experience better. Why is it wrong to get paid for that? Some people see it that way, and I don't understand why. You know, and when you ask for it, you say, hey, could you please help support the channel? It's not you're begging, but, you know, like I explained to the guy in a message, I said, you know, my video camera alone was $400. Okay, the LED lights that I run, what, 80, 90 bucks, whatever. The video capture card was 80, 90 bucks. Let's talk about the $4,000 PC I use. Okay, what about the $400 monitor I have? You know, all that costs money. You know, that I use to make these videos, to do these things. You know, and so why people have a hard time with that, I don't know. And I think developers need to get paid. That's why, you know, I've had a couple developers ask me about putting stuff behind kind of a paywall, and I'm like, do it.
I think the only issue with the paywall is that is going to scare a lot of people away. I think obviously donations are the best thing for the user. It's just a matter of how do you get people to use your software while also still getting paid.
Let me clarify the paywall. What I meant by paywall.
Sure.
Okay, so by the paywall, if you want, like, the perfect example of that is how Zero Linux is doing it. What he's doing is, if you want the already built ISO, just donate. He doesn't have a set price. Just donate. Right? At least I don't think he has a set price. He may, I don't know. But anyhow, just donate, right? But if you want to build it for yourself, then you can build it for yourself.
Sure.
And here is how to do it. You can go right to the page, you can download what you need to it, and run the script. He gives you the commands to put in the command line to build the ISO yourself, and it's free. That's what I mean. Offer the free way of getting it, but put, like the what most people are going to want to do in a way to be able to get some money from it. I don't see anything wrong with that.
I don't see anything wrong with it. It's just a matter of how the reaction you're going to get, and whether you can actually get people to use a project like that, if that's how you start it. It's one thing if you change to that model later on, once you've already got some sort of base around you.
Yeah, no, of course you want to. No. It's like a new. It's a perfect example is cars.
Right.
Okay. When a new model of car comes out, or a new brand of car with a new model of car, when they come out, those cars are in the $15,000 budget range, right? They're new, they're introductory, level, right? For people to get introduced to the company. So they put them out there in a way that, you can get the base model and drive it around in a very affordable range to get you to like the thing.
Sure.
Then what they do is they start building the coupes and the sports car, models, and the SUV models, or whatever, what I'm saying? The branding comes later. And that's exactly what you do with your projects that you're doing that stuff
Right,
for.
that's fair. No, I get what you're saying.
Approach that same model. Approach that same model. Start off giving your stuff out, in the beginning for free. But if you feel like putting it behind a paywall, you shouldn't feel guilty about it. Is what I'm saying.
No, I do get that. That makes sense. I definitely noticed a lot of people in the FOSS world. We all talk about, free software doesn't mean free as in beer. It means free as in freedom. But there's a lot of people that do sort of act like it does mean free as in beer as well. And
they do.
Yeah, you see this if you go to any issue tracker. There's going to be a lot of people in there that feel very entitled about a issue not being dealt with in a timely manner. Like, you'll be like, why is this not done? Who is working on this? Can I get an update on this? Like, no, go away. Work on it yourself. I get why developers say that. But I think a lot of developers are really bad at communicating, like, why something is the case. People that are angry are not going to just accept, go work on it yourself. I do wish a lot of developers sort of gave a better explanation on why something is the case, rather than just trying to send someone away. I know that a lot of devs are very busy, but it would deal with a lot of the concerns that people have if they were just better at explaining what's going on.
It would definitely mitigate a lot of that anger and that misunderstanding. And like DT said, I was talking to DT one time, and he told me, he said, if you come to Linux to do any like Linux content, software, whatever, he says, to make money, he says, you came to the wrong place.
Yeah. Yeah,
You
pretty
came to
much.
the wrong place. Go do Windows videos because people there are used to paying. You know
Mm-mm.
what I'm saying? It's just really fun. It's just funny when he said that. It's like, yeah, no kidding, because it's true. They look at it as, like you said, free beer, and
Mm-mm.
I don't know. I don't know why it's gotten to that expectation, but it
Mm.
has. And I think that we should all definitely work to promote, especially for the devs, because I mean, a lot of these people, like I know a dev, like one lives right here by me, actually, and this dev is taking time away from his family
Mm.
to maintain things. There's two-person OS that he maintains. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? Just him and one other cat, and hours and hours and hours and hours on this stuff. And he's away from his family. I mean,
Mm.
it's if you were doing that for your job, and people were enjoying it, you would be asking the same question: why can't I get a little
Yeah,
compensation?
no,
You
I
know what
get
I mean?
that. Absolutely makes sense. Yeah.
You
Um.
know?
Mm. No, I fully agree. I'm sure there's gonna be someone that disagrees in the comment section, but
Oh, I
I
can't wait to. I cannot wait to hear the comments on that. They're gonna blow
um.
us up.
But speaking of distros, did you see that Ubuntu Cinnamon is now like a thing that's actually like official?
Yep, an official flavor. Yeah.
Mm. That.
So I think what's happened is, this is just me spitballing.
Mm.
A corporation is a conglomerate.
Right.
It requires your product, when you think about it in a marketing aspect, right?
Mm.
Because it goes off of marketing. Obviously, it's on the business side because it's Ubuntu and it's like huge in the server business, right? But part of the thing is marketability, right?
Mm.
And marketability is dependent in tantamount on acceptability,
Right.
right? That being said, when they tried to do their thing with forcing all their subsets to use snaps, that created a huge distaste in people's mouth
Mm. Mm.
for Ubuntu, and marketability and acceptability started to falter. So the
Right.
only way they could do now is to start grabbing all these other and retract the whole Snapd thing like they did, and now start grabbing and making all these other flavors to try to put more
Well, cinnamon already
more food
existed
on the
as
buffet,
a
so to speak.
cinnamon already existed as like an unofficial flavor.
It's an
Uh.
unofficial flavor, but I'm saying to make it official now is
Right.
what
Right.
they're trying to. In a way, they're trying to. It's kind of like a rebranding without rebranding.
Mm.
Make sense?
Right. No, I get what you're saying.
And I think that's kind of what they're doing. And also, it could also be because cinnamon and like the Unity,
Mm.
the cinnamon, mint, also mint moving more so to Debian than Ubuntu. I think it's kind of I mean, they're still doing their Ubuntu flavor, but
Mm.
it's kind of like showing a shift in people's use of Ubuntu. They're not usually
Mm.
the official. So why not buy or adopt the official and make or unofficial and make it official, so that they keep their numbers up. You know what I mean? In a marketability size, because when you're looking at that, you're looking at in a corporate world, you're
Right.
looking at bottom lines. Downloads and usability count towards bottom line.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
No, no, that makes sense.
And so if you got Mint that's outperforming the Debian Mint that's outperforming this, you're going to want to grab another one that's performing like Cinnamon and pick that up, because they were an unofficial. Make that all counts more for you in a corporate
Mm.
spreadsheet world.
Hmm.
Nothing changed other than the officialness of it.
Right. Huh.
If that, I mean, I think, like I said, that's just spitball.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. For anyone just listening, like that's like not 100% certain that's what happened, but like, yeah, I can see where you're coming from with that, definitely. Because there's a lot of people that aren't really happy with the direction that Ubuntu is going with,
Exactly.
especially Snaps. Snaps is like the big one where it would be one thing if Snaps were just, their own separate thing, and you could use them if you wanted to. But the fact that they are starting to encroach on like existing packages, like you've got the
Mhm.
Steam Snap being worked on, which doesn't need to exist because there is the Steam Flatpak already. You've got the
Exactly.
Firefox Snap, which doesn't need to exist. I know Mozilla like was working with them on that one, but like it
Yeah.
doesn't need to exist. And you got because
Right.
like once again, there's an official Firefox Flatpak. I don't really
Exactly.
know what they're doing there besides just trying
Well,
to gain control
so
over it.
so to my understanding, um, it's diversification is really what it is.
Hmm.
In a corporate world, when you like acquiring the cinnamon and making it official, that's also more diversification, right?
Right.
And you're divesting yourself so that you can get more profitability.
Hmm.
Now, to my understanding about the Steam versus the flat pack is, or Snaps versus flat pack, is the reason why they're trying to incorporate all of these flat packs into the Snap version is because Snap is made more for containerization for servers,
Hmm.
right? I think the structure, the structure, and I may be wrong in it, but I think it's my understanding that that's what the difference is between Snap and um, Flatpaks is the integratability into the server,
Hmm.
Ubuntu server. They're basing everything on their snaps to be able to plug and play and work into the Ubuntu server flawlessly.
Hmm.
And they can only guarantee that with snaps, and that's why they're doing that.
Hmm.
So I wonder if they're trying to make an operating system that's just basically Ubuntu server, and you just put all your snaps that you want in there to make it your OS, your desktop OS,
I could see that.
like a modular OS
Hmm.
desktop.
I could definitely see that. It would definitely make it easier on like the back end side because you would just have the one thing that you deploy and then it's basically just like a configuration script. You just like change what's pre-installed.
Yep,
Hmm.
exactly.
Hmm.
Piqued
No,
your
no,
interest, huh?
I see where you're coming from. That definitely makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, right now it's still very far away from that. Like, there's still a lot of the system that
Oh,
is still
absolutely. No,
absolutely
that's what.
apt.
No. It's definitely what I'm. That is, I think, possibly the end goal,
No,
and
that
because
yeah, yeah.
that's what everything seems to be lining up to present to a
Mm,
degree.
mm, mm.
And and like I said, the flavors that you're talking about, them adopting all the flavors as official, that's the diversification because they're going to stick to that one base model, and then they'll have all these other ones that compensate for what other users may want for marketability and acceptability on a corporate level.
Is there even anything left that they haven't adopted as like an official Ubuntu flavor that anyone would
I
even
have
want
no
anymore?
clue.
What do they even have at this point? Let's see. Okay,
I don't
so
really follow. I don't really follow Conical that much, except
that's
for
fair.
like the brief highlight. You know, the headlines that come up now and then, and that's just kind of like I said, just me as a former business owner. You know, looking at things. You know, on because as like I said, they're a business.
Mm-hmm,
They're the Microsoft, so to speak, of the Linux world,
mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm.
Even though they're a much nicer Microsoft. You know what I mean? But at any instance, that's what I equate them to be.
Right,
And for me, that's what it's how can they keep their profitability going,
right, right, right.
and the way that technology is changing, the way that immutable systems are starting to become a thing,
Mm-hmm.
why not go containerized?
Mm. I know that with Fedora 39, apparently the Fedora images are becoming like an official thing. That's what I think George Castro, the Ublue guy, was telling me when I had him on.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
that would be a big change for Fedora. But I'm looking at the Ubuntu flavors right now. We have KDE, LXQT, Budgie, Cinnamon, Mate.
Hmm.
I'm cutting out the ones that aren't like their own separate desktops, like Studio and things like that.
Right. Yeah.
Unity, XFCE.
Hmm.
I can't think of any other like DEs that you. Obviously, there are other like window managers things, but like DEs, I can't think of one. Besides
Well,
when Cosmic comes out for Pop! OS, maybe
right.
that would be hilarious if the one
Yeah,
selling point of Cosmic becomes like a part of Ubuntu.
that would be awesome. But yeah, but I think that's really what it is. They're trying to diversify
Mm,
and stay relevant, you know, because that's their goal.
mm, mm, mm. Hmm.
It's an interesting, like I said, I've thought
No,
about it and thought about it,
it's
and
definitely an interesting angle.
It's a different, yeah, it's different. It's different than what you hear. I mean, it would make sense that they're trying to do that, to do it that way.
Mm-mm-mm. Mm. Hmm.
I mean, I don't know what Mark Shuttleberg would answer that as, but you know,
Circle of friends. Circle of friends is the answer. We're trying
yeah,
to bring
circle of
everyone
friends.
together.
They're all friends. They're all our family.
Yeah.
We're
If
trying to bring them into the fold.
if a company starts calling you family run, like
Pretty much.
they're not your they are not your family.
So they're not your family. You have made them enough profit
Mm-hmm.
that they want to capitalize on that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, no, I watched the change, and like I said, and I know I know I kind of put them with the M word, you know, but it's honest. It's honest as the day is long.
That the M word. Lovely.
Yeah.
Did you mention what desktop you were using before? Because I know you mentioned using your Arco.
i3.
i3. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. How is i3 for you? What's that experience like? I haven't used it in a long time. Besides Sway, obviously.
I got to tell you something about i3, man.
Uh-huh.
i3 with the auto tiling
Yep.
function,
Yep.
to me, is the best.
Mm-hmm.
Honest to God, everybody, I've tried Xmonad, I've tried all of them, I've tried BSPWM, I've tried all of them, and Qtile and all of them. I've even tried freaking Maybox. You know what I'm saying? A floating window manager, man. And the only one that I feel works the best for me, that suits my workflow, I can customize it to the day is long as the day is long, and it just, I enjoy it, is what everybody terms as the beginner's window manager, which is i3.
I
And
really
it's just,
wish i3 was not a manual tiler. Like the auto tiling script is so useful.
oh,
Like
absolutely.
when I first used i3, I was like, "Hey, this is great. Tilers, this is cool. This is so better than Windows." But then when I tried a dynamic tiler, I'm like, "Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
Why is this so much better?" But i3 is just so
Yeah.
easy to configure. Like that's the great thing about i3.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing that like I said, you know, that I hated about it in the beginning, and I suffered through it, but then it was like somewhere a ray of sunshine came down, lit up my whole area. I heard, oh, and then there was this thing called auto tiling script that appeared on my screen. And I was like, what is this? And I was like, well, what's the worst thing I could do? Try it, right? If I don't like it, I just don't use it, uninstall it, remove it, right? And I tried it, and I never looked back. It's been, I'm telling you, that to me is the single biggest blessing in i3.
For anyone who hasn't used it, basically it takes the manual tiler in i3 and then makes it not bad. It makes it an auto tiler. It just makes it dynamically tiling. No more you have to set the direction, which is so annoying. It's so inconvenient. I get it why people like it, but like, I'm not one of those people. I just want it to go where it thinks is the best spot to put it, and then leave it at that.
Leave it at that, exactly. And if you want to move it, you just do your key binding and boom, move it wherever you want. I love it. Resize it, whatever.
Yep.
It's awesome. What's your desktop or your window manager you're riding?
I'm on Hyperland right now. So dynamic tiler, dynamic tiler, very similar to
before Hyperland. What did you use?
Before Hyperland, I was on Awesome WM.
Awesome WM. Yeah.
The nice thing about Hyperland,
I tried that one for a minute. I tried that one for a minute, and I can't remember what it was I didn't like about it. I don't know if it was the key bindings.
Lua configuration.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. That's exactly what it was. One of the key bindings that it had to do with the key bindings. I was trying to figure out how to change it, and it was Lua, and I was like, oh, this is crap. Not for me. Bye.
Lua is a little bit rough if you've never used Lua before. If I was going to use another window manager or I configure it with code, I'd probably go with Qtile just because I'm more comfortable with Python.
Yeah.
But I like Hyperland. Hyperland's good. The nice thing about Hyperland is a couple of months back, they added a plugin system. And this plugin system allows you to do things like there's a plugin to use the River layout managers. River, one of the strong things about River is it has a lot of custom layouts, and you can just bring those into Hyperland.
No kidding.
As the plugins grow, I could imagine people doing things like, re-implementing the compiz animations and things like that. As it stands, though, there's not many plugins that exist, but the ones that do exist are pretty cool. Like most of the plugins are for layouts. There's one that changes the way that workspaces work. So on Hyperland, you have, on a window manager, you have workspace 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So
Right.
on Hyperland, those are shared. And what I mean is, if I use, say 1, 2, and 3, that 1, 2, and 3 is only going to be on, one of my monitors. If I want to have 4, 5, that has to be... I can't have that in 2 places at once. So normally on Awesome, I think on i3 as well, you can have 1 to 9 on each monitor, and they're their own separate thing.
Right.
Hyperland, you can't have that. This plugin makes it work more like it does on Awesome.
Oh, no kidding.
I get why people like the workflow as it is on Hyperland, but I prefer the other method.
Yeah, it sounds more productive to me.
The other method is good. The way Hyperland does it is good if you remember what workspaces are on what monitor, because then you can easily move it back and forth. But I have a separate...
That's what I do in i3s. I assign them to different monitors.
Yeah.
What different workspaces.
I have a keybinder that can just move my monitors between screens, though. So for me, it doesn't really matter either way.
Yeah, I do that too. I use the key binding too. Like I did, my right monitor, I have to run my OBS on every time. And then my left monitor, which is right here, is designed to always run Vert Manager or my my browser or whatever, is here. Even my text editor's here. If I'm doing one where you do editing video, it's always over here. Right. So that way I just know that it's separate, and I keep them separate that way. So I do that. But if sometimes I'll move my text editor when I'm not ready for it, I'll move it to the other monitor, so it's out of the way, that kind of stuff. So that's what I do. I just flip between them. That's why window managers are the best. The flexibility that you have.
I've had some people suggest I go and try out KDE, because KDE has been doing some things a bit quicker than WL Roots. One of them, I think it was, they're doing some global hotkey stuff with XDG portals that hasn't made it to other desktops yet. The only issue is the applications that would be using the global hotkey portal haven't supported the portal yet, so it doesn't really matter that.
Right.
But as it stands, I just like where I'm at on Hyperland. It does everything I need it to do. It's really configurable. It's mostly stable. It's mostly stable nowadays.
Yeah. It's only going to get better.
Yeah, absolutely. Unless Vax reintroduces a regression where GTK Windows caused the entire desktop to crash, which did happen a little while ago. But then he fixed it because he just forgot to merge the fix for it.
Right. Before, I guess if I were to go back to use a desktop environment, it would have to be KDE.
Right.
Only because of all the effects and stuff that you could set up and also tile it. You can make it tiling.
Yeah. I'm curious to see what Pop! OS is doing with Cosmic.
I'm very curious about that too. I'm really curious about that. I know in 0G he's got the Pop! OS shell in where you can actually turn on the tiling and stuff like that, which is really, really nice. I always thought, and that's the one thing about, I'll be honest with you, the Cosmic desktop that they have right now is cartoonish to me.
Right.
I get the cartoonish feel, right? I don't know why, but I do. And so, but the one thing that I really, really like about Pop! OS is that tiling feature. I never used it for gaming, even though actually the GamerTube was using it for gaming for a while. And I turned them on to that. Why don't you give that a try, and he loved it. He really, really loved it. But I don't like the feel of Pop! OS for me. It just doesn't do it for me, except for the tiling thing. So that's why I've never done much with Pop! OS.
I don't think I've heard. I think I've heard anyone call it like cartoonish before. That's a new one for me. Huh.
It's just me. I just feel it's gimmicky, kind of cartoonish.
Right. Do you mean like the theming or?
Yeah, the theming. I'm talking about the theming. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Huh.
Yeah.
I guess I could see that.
You know, like their pop logo.
Yeah, no,
like,
I see.
Find it at a carnival.
No, I get what you're saying. So I'm guessing how do you tend to theme your desktop? Is it like fairly minimal? Is it like, do you like the brown of Grovebox? Like, what do you like to do there?
No, I like vibrant colors. I'm Latino. I'm Cuban. You know, so we like vibrant colors. You know, so I like, you know, but it's really weird because I like it. I don't like it all over my desktop. Like I'm not into like the KDE neon shit. You know, the KDE neon wallpapers and those kind of. Man, I like dark themes, but like my desktop right now. If you look at it, I've got this Reaper, and I showed it in one of my videos, my last videos that I did, the PyCon video actually. It's got a Reaper that's like a neon Reaper. It's got like blue and yellow and red and, you know, all that good stuff.
See if we can find it. Is this it?
Or sorry, gray. It's got blue smoke wisp.
Yeah,
I found
it. Yeah, I found it. Okay.
Fact,
So you like dark colors with like bright accents.
Yes, exactly.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah, I tend to be the same. Like my theme is generally pretty dark, and then I'll have like some bright blue or whatever just to like have things pop out. So fairly like people would call this like material or whatever you want to call it nowadays, but like it's just
is that what they call it?
I don't know. It's like that's Google's terminology for it.
I call it mine. I call it my gig.
People call it like a flat theme or something like that. Yeah, it just looks good.
Yeah, no, I just, you know, what I do like is like if at the top on like my bar, I like the different colors. You know, like the rainbow type colors. You know, like the reds, the blues, the pinks. You know, that kind of stuff. I like that. You know?
Yep.
Just to add flair, a little flair.
Yeah.
But you know, I can't stand bright white themes, man.
No, it's not my thing.
I can't. The only good thing that I will ever say about Windows is that they actually implemented a dark theme. In 10, was it 10 or it wasn't even an 8 that they had it. I think it was in 10. Windows 10 they made where you can go to dark theme. Yeah. They finally got around to making a dark theme.
And they've extended it in Windows 11 as well. That's one of the good things about 11. Yep. One of the few good things
about 11. Yeah. And I mean that I will say. I mean I enjoy dark theme. I never could stand the bright themes. I hated it. Hated it back in the day.
I think Windows managed to do the light themes relatively well. I think the big thing is they didn't go with like the problem with a lot of light themes is they use white, whereas somehow Windows had like a slightly off-white, a gray, these light colors that they're still light colors, but they weren't blindingly white.
Right, not like ours.
No.
Holy crap. Ubuntu's, I remember the first time, man, dude, I was like, holy crap, blaringly white. And then just recently there was another distro I did that I looked at, and it was blindingly bright. Oh, Voyager. It was Voyager Linux. They're white, and it was blindingly white. But before I did the video, I actually changed it all to dark so I could do the video.
You can find it. Voyager Linux. Oh, that page is already very bright.
Huh?
Yeah, I see. I see your problem. Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, God. We're closing in on the 2-hour mark now, so...
Holy crap!
We should be...
You're awesome.
We should be ending off the show.
Video?
Hey?
You got plenty of material for your video?
I've got plenty of it, plenty of material.
Nice.
Usually what I do is I upload the full recording as like one thing, and then I like clip out things for like the extra clips
Yeah.
afterwards.
Whatever you want to do, whatever's clever, buddy.
Sweet.
I really enjoyed talking with you, man. Thank
Yeah,
you for doing this with me.
I had a lot of fun as well. This was good. The 2 hours just flew on by.
Yeah, well, you know, God's gifted me with the gift of gab, man. He had I could talk about anything.
It's good when people want you to talk. When they don't want you to talk, well, that's a bit more of a problem.
Difference is I don't care. I still talk.
Yeah, that'll do it. Tell the people where they can find you, where they can see all your stuff.
I'm everywhere, man. I'm on Twitter, the Linux Tube at Twitter, Instagram, the Linux Tube, Facebook, the Linux Tube, YouTube, obviously, at the Linux Tube. I'm on Discord, the Linux Tube, and I am the Linux Tube on Mastodon. That's me. I branded everything all the same. So you just got to go to whatever social media and just search Linux Tube. You'll find the Linux Tube, and you'll find it.
You have good branding. Mine's a mess. I use my name. This is a problem.
Look for the penguin, yeah.
Mm-mm.
But yeah, no, I mean it's I started to make that mistake in the beginning, and I just realized, I just need to brand myself everywhere.
Yeah.
The same.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
No, that's a good idea. I'm far enough in now where it's like I can't really fix it. So
you just confuse the hell out of people.
Yeah, that's true. So it is what it is. It just stays how it is now. Yeah. As for me,
also on Gmail, the Linux Tube at gmail.com.
That's going to be in the transcript now. Good luck with all the spam you're going to get from that.
Are you serious?
I don't know. YouTube likes to, auto annotate stuff. So
yeah, I know.
You're really going to get a bunch of bots now.
Oh boy.
Anything else you want to mention?
I guess if you don't know who I am, come check out my channel. While you're there, like and subscribe. Maybe even consider joining.
Sweet. As for me, the main channel is Brody Robertson. I do Linux videos there 6-ish days a week. Sometimes they're not Linux videos. Sometimes they're just general tech videos, but 6-ish days a week. The gaming channel is Brody on Games. Right now, I'm playing through Yakuza 0 and Devil May Cry 3. Probably Devil May Cry 3. I may have finished it by now, but Final Fantasy 16 is coming out soon. So when that happens, that is going to take over that channel. And if you're listening to the audio version of this, the video version can be found on Tech Over Tea on YouTube. If you are watching the video version, you can find the audio anywhere you find audio podcasts, the iTunes, Apple whatever it's called. There's an RSS feed. Search Tech Over Tea on your favorite apps. You'll find it. Probably. Yeah. Any final words?
Guys, just try. If you don't know anything about Linux, try it. If you do know anything about Linux and you want to try something, still try it. Have fun with it. Mm-hmm. That's what it should be. It should be fun.
Absolutely. That's a good way to end
it. That's about it.
See ya.
Peace, guys.